Cam Norrie beating João Fonseca 6-1, 6-4. I watched most of this match. It was a pretty short affair. My two thoughts were, in the first set, João Fonseca was playing like a child. And then I remembered, well, he kind of is a child. And then the second set, I felt that he found his range. I think I tweeted those exact words. But he found them when he was like 5-4 down and Cam Norrie was serving for the match. But it really felt like, I know it's kind of an age-old thing in tennis, but it really did feel like if Fonseca breaks there, he could run away with it. And I also started to think about him in terms of physicality, and this is something that has plagued a lot of people at his age. You know, and everyone knows how fit Cam Norrie is. But I would have fancied him in the third set if he'd have won that second set. And
he lost the first in 20 minutes, so
yeah, right, yeah.
It's kind of like the first never happened. So in terms of physicality, this really wasn't the toughest match on him.
No. But anyway, I listen. I know it's Cam Norrie beating João Fonseca, and here I am talking about the Brazilian. Well, because Cam Norrie did what Cam Norrie does and does very effectively, and therefore he's in the next round. But to say it's on someone's racket would be a masterpiece of understatement, because I mean, basically, it was just a case of can Fonseca find his range, as I said before, and he did, but it was just too little, too late, or too much, too late, almost.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Fonseca matches look like this right now. Like, can the raw talent be just more valuable than the complete lack of experience and complete lack of like tactics, match play, awareness, or whatever? So yeah, we're kind of used to that. I mean, this can happen to him, obviously, against any player at the moment. Like, I think, for example, it's like a favorite. Fonseca is never really reliable anymore, yet. But yeah, today was quite brutal until the last two games. Lots of support in the crowd for the Brazilians all week. Seibovic, Monteiro, Fonseca.
But one player I do want to talk about, I have touched on her before, at least in tweets, but maybe not on the show, is Maria Sakkari. Is, for me, playing the best tennis in 3 years is the easy sort of tweet to put out there. And I think I did do that a few days ago.
You did,
but now I'm thinking, I think she's playing better than she's ever played in her life.
I wish I saw anything from the Steven Sakkari match, because that would have been really helpful. And
I saw a bit, but more important, well, not more importantly, I'm also basing it on her previous round win as well over Donna Vekic. And let me tell you this, I know Vekic, and is probably not super high pedigree on this surface, but Vekic didn't do much wrong. And I watched Vekic, by the way, win her first match against Laura Siegemund. I thought, wow. Again, I felt as though that was pretty high quality encounter. I mean, Siegemund was a bit ever strewn as she can be, but Siegemund brought her level to the match, if you like, and Vekic brought a level that I didn't necessarily knew that she had. Then in that match with Sakkari, Vekic, I thought, played quite well, but Sakkari was just too good. And I saw Sakkari up close in the Billie Jean King Cup, albeit that she did lose one of her matches against Clara Towson there. But every time I see Sakkari, I thought that there was a limit to Sakkari, and I thought that limit was 2021. Well, I'm having to reevaluate a bit, and I think she's playing. I think the reason why I say she's playing better is I think the WTA Tour is stronger now, so she might lose to Iga in 3 sets.
But why is it stronger? Why is it stronger?
Well, because I'm thinking about, let's take the French Open 2021, okay?
Yeah,
about
no. But tell me one thing. Why is it stronger? Because of which players being there?
The 3 players at the top of the game.
Has she beaten any of them?
No, I of course, no, that's a fair point. And she might not. And she might lose 7-5 to Iga in the third. But I would still say that's better than what she was doing in 2021.
No,
it might not be.
But you're assuming that it's going to be 7-5 in the third.
I'm not. Okay. I saw her play Rebecca recently in Miami, and it was like that 6-4 in the third. And I was thinking, this is much closer than I would have given even the 2021 Maria Sakkari. I think she's playing better. I mean, it's all extremely.
Rybakina went 3 sets in like every match that event, right?
Yeah, okay, but I'm also watching it with my own eyes, and I'm seeing, and this is the only barometer we have, because it's impossible to measure these levels, just like the face of who's the greatest player of all time. But for me, she's playing. I mean, maybe she would agree with that. I'd love to hear somebody ask her that. If only we were at the Madrid press conferences to ask her.
No,
but anyway,
I'm not disagreeing with this, by the way. I am kind of just saying that if that's sort of the argument, that the standard of the competition is higher, and that's why she's performing better. Like, she kind of needs to beat one of these players, Sabalenka included, but probably likely we're talking about Rybakina and Świątek this year, just in terms of the sheer consistency. Again, I wish I saw anything from Sakkari Stevens. That is obviously an eye-catching result, given what Sloane did in Rouen, what she did in the first 2 rounds here. Haddad Maya forefront. I mean, I don't know if it will tell us all that much, but is that the Świątek quarter, or is that the Świątek semi? If you can
Sakkari and Świątek on a collision course.
Ready? Play.
Hello, guys. So on the third round, we will be, we are still finishing the third round, of course, of the men's event, whereas I think the whole fourth round of the women's is played today. We will kick off our coverage for today with Alexander Bublik playing Ben Shelton. A very non-clay match, if you think about it. But on the other hand, I mean, Bublik has made the quarterfinals in Madrid before, and Shelton is actually 5-0 for the year on clay courts. Obviously, 4 of these matches came in Houston, which is like a mixture of green clay and European red clay, I would say. But then he also comes to Madrid. He loses just 2 games to Tomas Machac. Pretty horrible performance from the Czech, but especially if Shelton can keep going here, make the 4th round, that will already be a nice achievement for sure. And as far as I remember, I actually have to check that, but as far as I remember, his draw is also not horrible after that, right? I mean, he's really, he's there potentially with a shot to even go further. So let's see if he can beat Bublik. He is perceived, I mean, Medvedev Korda in the 4th round, like that's definitely not unplayable on clay. John, we can hear you typing and sniffing pretty loudly. Okay, maybe not anymore. Anyway, 30 all here. But yeah, he is perceived as a pretty big favorite against Bublik. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, technically it's a matchup where, both of them maybe aren't that good in clay, but Ben definitely is like better athletically and has more potential on this surface going forwards, I think. But it's not like Bublik hasn't played amazing matches on it when he cares, when he wants to. And if he can make this one like a serve-oriented battle, I think there's definitely some potential for Bublik to hang here and, maybe even win. And when it comes to the very first game, we already have Ben Shelton facing a breakpoint from 30 love up, or no, maybe 30-15. But he misses this easy backhand volley on top of the net here, trying to approach right after the serve. And the first breakpoint of the match is for Alexander Bublik, the newfound clay goat, or Of course, as I said, I mean, he's had a good run in Madrid before. These conditions, he's definitely not horrible at. And many Bublik clay matches are kind of like him not caring rather than actually not being able to play better than he does. But here, Shelton with a massive forehand to save that breakpoint. One ball that Bublik dropped a little short for him here, and Shelton moves around, steps in for that inside-out forehand, and really crushes it. That's not a bad start for him at all, given that, on an important point, he's finding a shot like this. And the serve down the tee will also grant him the point here. Of course, we'll see how he reacts to the Bublik serve, what sort of damage he'll be able to bring in on return. Pretty safe to say that both guys are, they aren't one of the best returners in the sport. So we don't expect too many breaks in these conditions. So even early breakpoint saves like this could be very crucial. And Ben Shelton indeed holds. So one game to love, already a breakpoint saved. There are two other matches going on right now in the singles in Madrid, which are both women's. Beatriz Haddad-Maia against Maria Sakkari. Before we started, I think John played a clip for you with him basically just gasping over Maria Sakkari's game of late. And, she gets to show that she really has it here. And also Jelena Ostapenko against Ons Jabeur, so the former champion has a pretty tricky challenger in the Latvian there. And that's basically it for what's going on in Madrid at the moment. Of course, at this stage, we are definitely slowing down a little bit with the amount of with the number of matches that we're gonna get every day, but it's still very heavy today with the whole fourth round on the women's. Tomorrow, there's gonna be the whole fourth round on the men's. So we're definitely not close to completely getting into that second week Masters type of slog. At least not for a couple of days anyway. Let's see if Bublik can also produce a hold. The first rally, I think Shelton was just trying to be a little more patient, keep himself in it, but Bublik finds the line with the forehand and forces an error. Battle of the out-of-form players. I think partially you just think of Ostapenko like that because of the Billie Jean King Cup. I mean, this event so far, she hasn't been out of form really. But yeah, I mean, it's Jelena Ostapenko. It can come and go. It can come and go as it pleases, and it doesn't feel like she has much to say when it comes to her form improving or not. Some double faults coming in for Bublik, who I think is suggesting that the shadow in the arena is not helping him out. Yeah, he's saying that he's having issues serving on this side of the court. Of course, Shelton already had a hold there, so if it really is a bit of a problem, then he does have an advantage, provided that Bublik here misses another time, and this time wasn't on serve, but a +1 forehand. And again, he just shows, he has sun in his eyes. We have the view of that. Basically, there's that retractable roof there in the arena, and basically in just one corner of the court, you can really see the sun. Probably straight in your eyes. So let's see. 2 breakpoints for Ben Shelton, as Bublik isn't reacting to this that well, and it's gonna be Ben who claims this rally. Backhand down the line at Bublik. The Kazakh has to slice. That the slice is basically bounces even before the net. It's not a good effort, and it's 7 minutes in. Ben Shelton with a break. Of course, he did have to save a break point in the first game, so it's not like everything has been going smoothly for him so far. But Bublik definitely a bit distraught with that shadow, and he didn't hold up against it well. I'm not saying this is an excuse for him or anything, but well, it's clear that he just didn't react to that well. At least not as good as Ben in the first game. Even as a viewing experience, definitely it is a bit of a weird one for now because of that. Basically, like the whole, let's say, like the 80% of the court is covered in shadow, and there's this one corner really that is just completely different lighting. I know a lot of people complain about it in tennis in general, that sometimes we do get these matches, especially around noon local time. Personally, yeah, sometimes it can be hard to follow the ball, but I kind of think that for the most part we can still enjoy it. I can see where the ball is. It just a little maybe more consuming for my eyes, I guess. Great serve out wide here for Shelton, who's really starting this on a high note now. 3 games to love if he goes to such a lead. He really will have a hard time losing it, I think, in a matchup like this, but we'll see. And of course, Bublik, next time he will serve on that side that at least seems a little better for serving at the moment. An irritated Alexander Bublik can bring out some ridiculous shots, so maybe that's what we're going to get. He also had that match with Carballes Baena here already, of course, which was just completely wild. You guys probably saw some clips from that. One of them was the granting, where he was basically mimicking Carballes Baena's grants during the rally. Some opinions about this. So Mario said he's not a fan of that. Personally, I don't really care. I mean, it's kind of like fun and games to me rather than actually, going at the opponent or something like that. But well, of course, it can be interpreted that way too. I remember when Robin Hasse once imitated Gonzalo Lama's grant during the point. And basically, so it was like a 30-shot rally. And then suddenly, after one of the shots, Hasse imitates the grant of Lama and he gets a hindrance. Because Lama does it on every shot. So it's not hindrance, but when you do it just, out of the ordinary, then it is. Which was very interesting. And the other clip from Bublik with Carballes Baena was Carballes Baena trying to hit Bublik with his serve, which I guess was maybe connected to that granting mimicking incident. I don't know. But it definitely seems like a match where the drama was high, and I'm pretty sad I missed it. Would you say Korda versus Med, Lehečka versus Monteiro, and Nori versus Ruud are all 50-50 or 60-40? They're not 50-50 now. I would say neither of these is 50-50. But Sebi definitely has a good matchup over Daniel, yes. He can attack him in a way that maybe most other players can't. The ability to play on short angles, really come forward to the net as well. Really expose that positioning of Medvedev if it gets to, at the fence. I do think that he has a good matchup with him, but he just hasn't been convincing enough for me to call it a 50-50 match. Lehečka Monteiro, I mean, if Thiago plays like he did against Steph, it is a 50-50 match, but I just don't think this is really possible for him to bring out the same intensity again after such a performance. Hopefully, I will be wrong. And if that's not the case, then it's not a 50-50 match, even considering Lehečka's own inconsistency. And Nori Ruud is definitely not a 50-50 match to me. I think Cam is significantly the underdog there. I mean, I know he beat him in Australia, and he actually played one of the best matches of his career, I think, there. But you got to factor in the fact that, well, it was a court that does not suit Casper that much. Here, that balance is definitely more towards the Norwegian. And also, I mean, that game plan that he used there, I think that will be a lot tougher to execute simply in Madrid, where Casper will fight back. And yeah, the third one I would say is definitely not a 50-50. Well, Bublik once again in a bit of trouble, 1530. So far, he's just kind of, well, he's there, he's walking around, but he doesn't really seem to have the best focus yet. Again, against Carbaez Baena, he lost the first set 1-6 and then dominated the next two. So it might not be like this all match, but especially if Shelton can produce something here. Ooh, that was very close to a breakpoint again. But actually, some great reflexes on the baseline from Bublik to even get to that return. And then Shelton kind of didn't know what to do with the next ball. He dropped shots, but Bublik has a lot of time to wrap it up. So after 15, 14 minutes, will we finally get a game on the board for Alexander Bublik? Let's see. Think that's a second serve for him now. So obviously, if we know Bublik is gonna go like 200. Actually, no, he really rolled it in and gives Shelton a couple of good balls to attack. Ben is pretty lucky there with the net court, but he still loses the point. Bublik chasing down the net court, which wasn't like dead, but it was pretty close to the net. He lifts the ball over Ben's head and forces him to have hit this pretty uncomfortable backhand volley, which the American misses. So 3-1 Shelton. Bublik showing, he like pointing to his watch or something like that. No clue what he's talking about and to whom even. Probably to his box. But let's see how Shelton can serve here, as obviously that previous game that Bublik had on this side of the court, he was complaining about the sun in his eyes. So let's see if Shelton will have similar issues as well. I think it is kind of like an individual thing. Like, I don't know about you guys, but personally, I was never bothered with sun in my eyes. Like, I know where the court is, you know? Obviously, I also, my serve is also tragic. So maybe if I needed more precision on it, maybe then I would be bothered. But in general, I don't really care because, well, they don't move the service box. It's a motion you've done so many times in your life, you probably should be able to do it, like blindfolded even, right? I don't know. Well, obviously blindfolded it would be tough, but semi-blindfolded, as in, a little sun in your eyes. But I don't know. It seems to be pretty individual. I've definitely had opponents who were unable to put the ball in the court whenever there was any light. I'm pretty sure it's John at both, Jake. Jean says that Menchik against Felix Auger-Aliassime is close to a 50-50. To me personally, I am surprised that Menchik is the slight underdog there. I would say it's the other way around. Menchik is comfortably the better player, I think. As long as, the injury issues are behind him, as long as he's comfortable with his health there, fitness, I think he's comfortably the better player. And especially on clay. So probably no 50-50 matches on the men's side, I think, today. There is one women's match that is 50-50 to me today, and I think that's controversial. So, well, actually, Connie Sabalenka as well, but that's not controversial. But there's also Goff Keys, which I consider a 50-50. Maybe that's bold, maybe it's not. But, well, in the conditions, I think Madi can definitely win it. 40-30 Shelton here. Some amazing serving really getting him out of trouble because he missed a couple of shots, but, well, the amount of 3 points coming in has been really important too. Should he? Yeah, he's closing out the game here. Again, like setting himself up for a +1 forehand, following it up to the net. Bublik can't produce the pass. So 4-1 up, Ben Shelton after 17 minutes. So far, pretty comfortable, but of course, it's Alexander Bublik, so we never know what he might cook up relatively soon, and Shelton needs to stay clean on his serve to just wrap up this set as early as possible and not get into any potential hiccups. Yeah, I think it's Rafa Kachin, but otherwise you kind of need John to confirm. I'm not sure otherwise, but I think definitely Rafa Kachin is planned as well. Bublik Shelton was actually a bit of a race because, well, John had a late night yesterday, and I wasn't sure if he was gonna wake up until 11. I was also doing my taxes earlier today, which I didn't know how long it would take. But basically, it's like this yearly declaration. And actually, it wasn't that long, but I did make a mistake and I had to correct it as well, and it was a mess. So I kind of couldn't tell if I was going to make it for Bublik Shelton until like 40 minutes before the match. But thankfully, we all made it. My taxes are probably fine. John definitely woke up to set up the stream. And that's why we are watching Alexander Bublik, Ben Shelton. Bublik so far definitely feels like he's thinking about everything but tennis at the moment. And one of his potential goals here is going to be just getting more locked in, which of course could be tough for him, but we'll see. So far, 1-4, still within touching distance. Whenever the rally goes a bit longer, I think Shelton should feel like he has a good chance to win it, but here he actually misses that forehand cross court. A little stretched. I mean, the athletic potential he has is definitely higher than Shelton, than Bublik's. At least on paper, he should be taking most of these rallies, but not this time. Bublik with the drop shot and actually confuses Shelton quite a lot there. That was definitely well disguised. I think it still gave Ben quite a lot of time, but yeah, it was just a pretty funky way of playing that shot, I guess. And an underarm serve from Alexander Bublik is into the net. No clue how Ben would have reacted. I mean, he was definitely getting there to the net, but and Bublik underarm serves again, this time on a let second serve, and he's not going to win the point as Shelton approaches instantly and then gets an easy lob to clean up. So 40 love up, there's an underarm serve Bublik, first one of the match. It was funny because he missed the first serve into the net, underarm. Then he hit a regular one, but it was a let on second serve, and then he follows it up with another underarm. But eventually, he really should be claiming this game, and I think he does. Actually, he stops play here and says that that return from Shelton was out. Apparently, it was. So 4-2. I was pretty sure that was going to be the final forehand from Bublik that would have to win him the point, but in fact, turns out that the return was out already earlier. So 4-2 Shelton, talking to Reno Liechtenstein about something. But it seems to be, well, at least the umpire is laughing. Ben doesn't seem to be laughing. But if the umpire is having fun, then, who cares? Then clearly it's nothing scary. So let's see if Ben can just keep holding. Of course, he did have to save a breakpoint in the very first game of the match. The amount of the court covered by sun has been already brought up to like maybe let's say 20%. I wonder if that's going to continue, but we have a much bigger sort of like almost a quarter of the court covered by sun now. The rest is still in the shadows. 6 out of 10 on net points won. Shelton, 2 out of 2 for Bublik. Ben definitely going there quite a lot. And obviously the conditions do warrant it. Pretty sensational touch from him here on the drop shot. 30 love up. Just a good combination with plenty of spin, forehand cross court, sending Bublik flying out there like somewhere way behind the baseline, and then Ben just swoops in with the dropper. And another one, which again will be impossible to catch. And this time Bublik was ready for it. Like Bublik was really running early, but the amount of side spin and backspin that Shelton got on this was pretty absurd, actually. On the replay, we will probably see that it barely bounced and also sideways. And actually another drop shot, but this one Bublik will get to. However, he won't put it over the net. So 3 drop shots in a row for Ben Shelton here. The fifth shot of the rally and 2 on the third one. So 5 to Shelton, looking like he's gonna cruise toward the end of the opening set. But well, you never know. It's tennis after all. And on the women's, indeed, we have Ons Jabeur up a set on Jelena Ostapenko. 6 games to love and already breaking in the second set too. Now that's going to be a brutal loss if that happens. I think I recently watched some highlights from an Ostapenko double bagel match in 2018 where she lost to Qiang Wang, maybe? Qiang Wang, of course, recently won a 50K yesterday, in fact, in China. Coming back, the former world number 12. And I was just thinking, well, it's pretty rare, right? Ostapenko, I mean, with that sort of a game, like you expect to have at least one streak of 4 points where everything clicks. But, well, who knows? Maybe we're actually heading towards another double bagel that Jelena will surrender in her career. I mean, 7 games in at least. And Beatriz Haddad-Maia is 4-2 up on Maria Sakkari. I guess, it wouldn't be a massive surprise given what sort of caliber of a player Haddad-Maia is, but it would certainly put an end to some Sakkari conversations we've been having, at least for a while. But we'll see. That opportunity is, of course, still there for Maria to come back. They are just starting. And Alexander Bublik is going to serve 2-5 down on that side of the court where he seems to be doing a little bit better. 26 minutes in.
Thanks for tuning into this watch along. While there's a break in play, here's a reminder to hit the like button, subscribe and click that notification bell. Your support helps to keep the channel going. While we're here, you can now become a member to enjoy perks including badges for the live chat, but also bonus material such as interviews with top players from both ATP and WTA tours. The membership link is pinned in the live chat.
Yeah, I'm back. Actually, my phone decided to turn off the hotspot. The hotspot. This has happened to me like once before, maybe. So, well, I guess there is a precedent to it, but it was back in 2022, I think. So, actually, not for a while. But anyway, I'm back. Corey minus 5.5. Seems a little tough, but well, this set Shelton is likely to win at 6-3. So then you only really need him to win by 1 break in the second set. So no, sorry, by 6-3 at least. And it's gonna be Bublik serving first. It's not looking too good. But also the American odds system is a mystery to me. So I don't know if plus 150 is good actually. So yeah. Even if he wins the first set 6-3, I'd say you are not that likely to win. But well, it will depend on what happens with Bublik essentially in the second set and whether he gets broken once or twice. And if it's only just once each set, then very likely you're not going to get it. But we'll see. Might be close though. This set, can Shelton close it out at 6-3, 15 all now? No. It's about the whole match. It's about Shelton winning by 6 games or more. So this is like a handicap. So like you start with that minus 5.5, and if you subtract minus 5.5 from the total games tally of Ben Shelton, and he still has more games than Bublik, then you win. Which is pretty tricky. I mean, it has to be like a 6-3, 6-3 or easier. So given the quality of Bublik's serving, it won't be easy to pull that off, I think. But of course, a 6-3 start is kind of exactly what you want. Although it is the set with one break rather than 2. Ooh, if Shelton hit that last shot, he definitely had a nice fake out there and would have fooled Bublik, but he puts it into the net. Trying to be pretty smart about it, looking the other way and hitting into the open space, but he doesn't. Yeah, exactly, Corey. Yeah, 6-3, 6-3 would work, obviously. 6-3, 6-4 wouldn't, and that's kind of like the more likely scoreline, but who knows? Good luck. Well, let's see if Ben even takes this first set. I think he will, again, using the drop shot nicely. I mean, these are probably points he would have won without the drop shot too. Like, you know, he's kind of in control in most of them, but it just allows him to set up these pretty easy kills. As even though Bublik got to it, there was just no way to catch the next pass. And then we have a set point at 5-3 for Ben Shelton after about 30 minutes of action. So far, smooth and not much talk about really, even after that one poor service game from Bublik to start us off. But now Alexander Bublik comes up with the shot of the match so far. Shelton approaching to his backhand, and Bublik is there with this brilliant pass down the line. There really wasn't much of an angle there. Like that was the side of the court that Ben was covering, and yet Bublik manages to just squeeze that shot in. So it's Rune's birthday as well. I guess it makes sense because they are like what 1 week away from each other with Alcaraz, right? So yeah, today is Rune's birthday, and I guess today is also Mira Andreeva's birthday. And Mira will play against Jasmine Paolini. 5-3 advantage, Shelton with a set point again. Of course, the previous one was Bublik firing this incredible backhand pass down the line. Now he gets the chance to cap it off, and again, will probably need to rally for it, although he just says, no, I'm not going to rally. He just blasts a blistering forehand down the line, and it is 6-3 Ben Shelton. So far, pretty routine. One poor game from Bublik at the start of the first set decided it all. Although we also have to remember that there was a breakpoint for Bublik in the very first game of the match, with Shelton firing a forehand inside-out winner from, let's say, the middle of the court. But still, it was a pretty ballsy one. Jelena Ostapenko picks up 2 games, so maybe she still has fight in her. I mean, obviously, it could be like someone said in the chat earlier, 6-love, 1-6, 7-5, 7-6 type of match. And Haddad Maia will serve for the set against Sakari at 5-2. So double break there. And that's where we are with Madrid today so far. Let me also look maybe at the schedule for later. So, of course, the match that we're watching right now, we are on Arantxa Sanchez Stadium. After that, Medvedev and Korda will enter the court after Bublik Shelton. And basically all of the matches in singles are on courts number 1, 2, 3, or Manolo Santana, Arantxa Sanchez, and Stadium 3 today. Whereas on court number 4, the only match in singles that is held outdoors today is Jakub Mensik against Felix Auger-Aliassime. Of course, all the women's doubles has been relegated to the outside courts because, well, we don't really want to do that. We don't really want to promote it, right? ATP, WTA. We see your true intentions and your half measures. Yeah. Shout out Coco Gauff, Palm Beach Country. Stand up. Yes, Coco Gauff will be playing today. Third up on court, Arantxa Sanchez. So this one after Bublik, Shelton, Medvedev, Korda against Keys. So quite a bit of a generational American battle there. I'm actually pretty excited for that one. I think it's my favorite women's match of today. And let me see about the head-to-head because I actually don't know what it is. But I think Coco beat her like once last year or something like that, didn't she? She did, but she also lost to her last year. And it is 2-2 between them, with Madison winning in Adelaide and Eastbourne, and Coco winning in Dubai and the US Open 2022. So 4 matches between them. The head-to-head is split, and I'm hoping for a good one today between these two. Maybe generational is a little too strong, given that Madison is like 29 only, but well, in tennis it is kind of like different generations of American tennis. And Alexander Bublik, of course, starts the second set on serve. Let's see if he can avoid any early issues with composure, basically, as he didn't in the opening set, really. More of the court is now being covered by the sun, but it's only on one side of the playing field. This is that side where Bublik was complaining earlier, and I guess he still is. After this double fault, again pointing to basically pointing at his face and saying that he's not seeing much when he's serving, but he is 30-15 up and hit this pretty huge forehand winner earlier, so maybe he'll be fine anyway. Well, he's going for another massive forehand here, and I'm pretty sure that this was out. Yes, indeed. So 30-all, he needs to be very cautious here. As again, the return from Shelton is in. Can Ben recover in the point? Probably. I mean, he's already back to neutral. And I think Bublik will miss this forehand, so it's a breakpoint for Shelton right away, which would be good for our friend Corey in the chat if he can secure one break early and then potentially fight for the next one in the next few games. But it is a breakpoint for Shelton. He just put the last few returns in and watched the errors fly. Not much about it. I guess that's what he's doing here as well, but Bublik should be able to pick up the point, yes. This time he decides, I mean, he definitely had an easier ball as well of the return, and he throws in the forehand drop shot, which Ben, I don't know if he even got to. I think it was very close to a double bounce, but it doesn't matter anyway because he put it way over Bublik's head and way outside the court. So we are back at deuce. Bublik serve and volleying, and what a nice pickup as well from below the net. He finds this pretty sick backhand volley angle. I was a little scared for him when Shelton hit this chipped return because, yeah, it was just clear that Bublik isn't going to get a comfortable spot on the volley, comfortable timing on it. But he managed to make it comfortable for himself. So another chance to get out of this game, and indeed, second serve, he once again approaches the net. I don't know if that was the pressure that sort of made Shelton miss the return as well, maybe a little bit, but anyway, it's a game on the board for Bublik, as this set already starts a little different than the last one. In set one, Shelton was in attack 45% of the points, according to Tennis Insights, whereas his 52-week ratio is 25. So a massive increase there, or sorry, 29. So a massive increase there. But Bublik has pretty much stayed the same, and their conversion has also, well, Shelton's is the same, while Bublik 80% in first set, 52-week 70%. I'm just reading out the stats on the screen. I think that Bublik really, if he wasn't on the attack that much, then it probably doesn't matter that he was converting a lot of these opportunities. But it does kind of tell you that, like, Shelton hasn't been able to recover in many points, really, where he's in trouble early, which I think could be a big part of his clay success, or at least, moderate clay success over the years. But today just hasn't really been about that, right? Today has been more about, just Bublik having one poor game in the first set, and then Shelton playing very aggressive, very serve-oriented, like early +1 forehand, +1 drop shot tennis, and getting over the line, which he will hope to continue to do for the rest of the match as well. Yeah, 40 love up. Shelton so far really cleaning up these service games after the opening one of the match very easily. Bublik had a sensational backhand volley the last game. Now we have one from Ben. And it's a very routine hold, probably lasting about 90 seconds or less, to be honest with you. Sakari broke back, so 5-3 there, but Haddad Maia will still have one more shot to serve out the set. And Ostapenko is now 3-2 up on Jabeur in the second set, so it looks like the second will be much tighter than the opening bagel was, of course. Yeah, Bublik just has to avoid these random forehand +1 errors like this one. Just dumps the ball into the net without any real sense or purpose. But of course, if he can come up with 223 km/h first serves, and they're going to be placed like this too, that will undeniably help his chances. Double fault on the next point, though. He's not too pleased about himself so far, and he kind of doesn't have a reason to be, so it's understandable. 218 was trying to go for that one. Well, of course, missing it. This time rolls it in a bit more, and actually this mishit return from Shelton is in on the baseline. This might be a very important point if Shelton ends up winning it. Started with a shank, but he's still in it. Bublik with the backhand drop shot lures Shelton into the net, but he will pass him with some very nice touch here, Bublik. The way that he was able to just wait around for maybe to see what Ben does after getting to the dropper, and then just focus on getting that angle right. Not focus on any big shot there, but just the technique, the swing, and he manages to just put it past Ben really at the net. Lovely shot there, and he is 30 all now. Again, one more return from Ben that is really close to the baseline, but this time he meant it. And it's another important long point. And actually, Bublik is winning a lot of these long rallies. Fantastic backhand down the line here. Anytime I see a Bublik backhand down the line now, I think of that against Rublev, right? The Wimbledon match, where like Bublik really slams it, he screams out, and Rublev just squash shots it, to the other side of the net. It was a pretty crazy video last year. I think it went like kind of viral in the tennis world. But yeah, I think it was definitely like Bublik thought he hit a winner, but it actually wasn't like that imposing. But it's a similar backhand down the line, I suppose. This time, of course, he did get the point actually. And he takes the game as well. A couple of very nice points here from Bublik from 15-30 down. That was probably some of the best that he's played in this match so far. And, well, he gets the reward in keeping up with Shelton so far. Haddad Maia will indeed have to serve against Sakari again to take the first set, having missed out at 5-2. And Ostapenko and Jabeur are very much involved in a tough, gritty second set so far, it seems. Well, the first set lasting about 20 minutes. The second one is already way longer, despite being like in the middle of it, really. But again, it would be pretty tough to be shorter there, it would be pretty tough for a set to be shorter than their first one was today. So yeah, for now, pretty routine for Ben Shelton. Let's see if he can keep it up, especially on serve. Just not give Bublik any looks, and then he's probably always going to be the player a bit more likely to break. But as I said at the beginning of the match, like the more serve-oriented Bublik can make this, the more he can just make this about easy holds both ways. That probably can suit him as well. And obviously he's not a horrible clay player. I think sometimes people just automatically put him into that category, but I think a lot of that is just determination, focus, motivation, which obviously aren't the traits he's famous for. But when he wants to, he can be a very decent player on the surface, and especially when we're on a court like in Madrid and the altitude conditions here, spicing his game up in a way. There's a challenge here from Bublik, and it's clearly on the line. Seemed pretty confused about this too, but well, whatever. It's an ace for Shelton. I guess he maybe disagreed with even the Hawkeye call, but of course there's not much you can do about that. And another great serve down the tee for Shelton. He should get an easy pickup there. Yes, indeed. +1 forehand into the other direction. Wrong footing, Bublik. I don't think he's lost a point on serve yet this set. I mean, of course, it's only been 6 so far. So it's it really hasn't been that much, but still, I don't think he has. But of course, the moment I said it, the next one is just Bublik firing this pretty nice return. Shelton trying to maybe go a little too hard at the backhand counter. I think he could have played with a little more margin there, try to recover in the point, try to use the physical potential that he has. But well, he's still kind of learning to do this on the clay. And to be honest, so far in this match, his very aggressive mindset has been, of course, working out for him. So it's not like he has much of an incentive to switch things up either. chopped return from Bublik and a drop shot right after. I think Shelton will have an advantage here, probably. Yes, indeed. It's a pretty nice, sort of like visually appealing point with that redrop from Ben, and then Bublik gets to it, forces Shelton to hit a volley like semi on the stretch, let's say, into the open court. And we got a 40-15 lead for the young Americans. Does he find this? I guess so, as Brian Shelton, his dad, is clapping his hands. It's a second serve out wide with a lot of kick from Ben, and apparently it lands on the line. Bublik was essentially trying to guess going T, and that's how it's a second serve ace. So 2 games all. So far, definitely more eventful the Bublik games this set. So if anyone really has to be on point here, it's the Kazakh. And again, we kind of start very similarly to the previous hold of his. Like we just start with a pretty random +1 forehand dumped into the middle of the net. And after that, he really picked himself up. He also tries to go for a backhand on the next for a backhand drop shot on the next +1 shot, and he dumps it into the net again. So things are really getting tricky for Bublik here. Love 30 down, just kind of 2 errors he donates to Shelton just for getting the return in. And his response is to go to the net, but I don't think he's gonna win the point. Yeah, it's again like a pretty entertaining cat and mouse rally in the end. But Bublik was always on the back foot there, and essentially could have only won if something crazy happened, if like he had some luck on top of the net or something like that. If one of his volley touches suddenly produced something he wasn't really expecting himself. So it's 3 break points. Will he save the first one with the forehand drop shot? He will, as Shelton overcooks the response. I think that was actually a pretty funny one, because if Shelton had less time, he probably wins the point. But he had quite a lot of it, and he just sort of like tried to come up with something. He tried to fool Bublik a little bit. And it's 15-40 now, so 2 more break points. Good serve, but it's in again. It's a forehand drop shot from Bublik again, and Shelton tries to redrop and loses the point. So apparently just playing a serve and then drop shotting so far is the best play for Alexander Bublik in this game, and he saves 2 break points with it. Ben definitely getting a little like caught up in all these cat and mouse plays here, not really choosing the best options. And you know what? Alexander Bublik saves the third breakpoint too, this time with a huge serve. So suddenly we are at deuce from, well, such a rough position for Bublik, and he just throws in a couple of drop shots. And he's back. Bublik definitely a bit refusing to be broken this set so far. But it's still deuce, so he might still get in more trouble, who knows. And he will indeed, as he tries to go for a huge serve down the tee. So it's a game point for Shelton again. It's a break point for Shelton again to go up a set and a break and build up a really huge lead. Let's see what Bublik tries to go for this time. The serve is in, and it should be a pretty easy pickup. Well, wow. I mean, Bublik, yeah, that was a wild decision, but it's good enough. I mean, I think he had enough time, and like the ball was short enough on the +1 shot that he had a lot of options there. And he actually goes, instead of that drop shot or a big forehand, he just goes for this long forehand slice. But yeah, the ball bounces really low, so it was hard for Shelton to pick it up in any way. So 4 breakpoints saved by now. Bublik is just a bit of a machine for weird, unconventional shots on these breakpoints so far. And he might actually get that game because he will have a game point now. But it does feel like he's definitely, keeping himself in this with the junk. And he might as well do that now. This time, a more conventional approach to the short ball that the serve generated for him. And he's still in it. He's still free to on serve. After saving 4 breakpoints, including 3 in a row in this one. And in the women's action, we've got Beatriz Haddad-Maia with a set point finally on Maria Sakkari, 5-4 and set point up. Let's see if she can take it. That's, of course, on serve. And that match, well, I mean, it's been relatively long. If it goes to a tiebreak, it definitely will be over an hour, but it won't as Haddad-Maia takes the set. And Ostapenko-Jabeur is still involved in a pretty even second set. So we still don't know much there. Looks like the Jaber's first serve is doing a lot of damage, but on second she is in a bit of trouble given the stats. Who will be the first winner of the day? Ben Shelton would hope that it's him, but well, he's already wasted quite a few opportunities in this set. I can't even say that he wasted them because it's just, well, actually the first break point here, he could have done a lot more with that drop shot response. And with the redrop on the second one too, there were definitely spots when he could have done more. And being 0 out of 5 in this set can definitely hurt him going forwards here. As just one lapse of concentration can suddenly put Bublik ahead. But, well, we'll find out if it even gets to that, as so far most of the Shelton holds have been very routine. And Shelton in a bit of trouble here on the first point. He will try to lob Bublik, but the Kazakh puts it away. Probably the best point he's played from on return so far, with this massive forehand and then the volley. And of course the smash was pretty easy, but still you gotta put this away. Nice combination. After 56 minutes, he has a low 15 lead on the Bublik, on the Shelton serve. Of course, it's not much yet, but if there's ever a moment for a momentum swing, it's probably right after you've saved 4 breakpoints, including a low 40. The opponent is likely to be a little bit disappointed with that previous game, and then you can definitely look for something. But he will need to be putting returns in if that is going to be the case, and so far he hasn't been able to do that. Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention that even, but they've already played on clay last year, but in Rome, and it was Bublik winning that in 3 sets, 6-2 in the third. Of course, Ben eventually ended up having a pretty poor win-loss record on clay last year. But I do think that he can be a very decent clay player in the future. Decent, nothing is sensational, but just not let this part of the season go to waste, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, this is tricky now, 15-30, and he really needs to put his foot down here. Show Bublik that because of that previous game, not much has changed, that he's still going to be in control of this one. And a good way of doing this is the serve and volley here. Which, the volley maybe could have been a little safer, but gets it done is the important part. A big serve out wide as well here. The reactions from Ben, like a lot of fist pumping, and shows to his box that, well, I'm here mentally. And he will have a shot to close out this game for 3 games all. Brief scare, but will it just be put away with another massive serve? Yes, it will. 3 games all now. And, well, maybe we'll remember this moment as like the one chance for Bublik to do something. But then again, was it really a chance? As Shelton serving volley that 15-30 and then 2 huge serves to get us to 3 games all. Like, there was that 15-30, but Bublik really didn't have much of a shot on the next 3 points. So yeah, let's see if this the trend of this set in terms of the Bublik service games continues. And he's been in trouble in everything really so far. Saving a break point, saving 4 break points, and there was that one deuce, I think, as well, maybe, or at least it was pretty close. But this time he starts the game better with that volley finish here. No random +1 error, just like in the previous 2 holds. Ooh, that's a funky return from Shelton. He's still not going to win the point. He just kind of didn't even execute the forehand motion. He like only really had his racket there, and the ball bounced off it back into the court. It was a pretty unique one, but well, in terms of the results, looks like Bublik will finally get an easy hold in this set. 40 love up and cruising towards it. It seems he's also like really rushing it between the points. Wants to get the ball right away. Whew. But he will actually extend his the time he has to spend on the court to win this game with the next backhand +1 drop shot that lands into the net. After an hour of play, we are still on serve in the second set. Can Bublik edge ahead again, but just without any breaks yet? Cooks up this slice and tries to approach behind it. Shelton won't get it over the net, so it's 4-3 Bublik. And by the way, Jelena Ostapenko has lost her serve in the second set, and Jabeur will serve for the match. The 2022 champion might be making it to the quarterfinals, which after her recent experiences on the tour, that's not easy. I mean, that's, that would be pretty big for her, is what I mean. Just barely starting in the second set, Haddad Maya Sakari. Think that's not the rivals that they will face, though, right? If Jabeur wins, she's gonna play Goff or Keys, and Haddad Maya or Sakari, I think they can play Świątek or Soribes Tormo. Here, of course, Bublik, Shelton, as I said earlier, they're gonna play Medvedev, Korda, who are coming onto this court right after them. So we won't know who is the next opponent for Shelton or Bublik for like 2 more hours after this match, probably. I don't think has Ben played Medvedev? I don't think so, right? Korda, he's definitely played in Madrid last year. I can't think of a Medvedev match, though. Maybe I'm wrong. But doesn't seem to me like they've played each other, which would be pretty exciting. But of course, it might still be Alexander Bublik winning here. And all right, 3-4 down. Ben Shelton about to serve. Things have definitely gone a little sideways for him the last few games. I mean, just the fact that he wasn't able to convert all these chances. Then suddenly Bublik threatens for the very first time. So, as I said earlier, just important to make it clear that he's still in control, put that foot down and wait for the next crack at Bublik. At this point, really could have gone both ways. I think Bublik could have done much more with the pass. And it could be a bit of a costly error, although he's in the next point too, and the ability to let's say mitigate the damage of the Bublik cross-court forehand with Shelton's backhand counters today, it's been very poor. Most of the time he's just going for it like too much and ends up missing some low margin attempts. All in all, it hasn't been enough to really properly hamper his chances in the match, but you can definitely see that the way he absorbs pace on that wing, that's still a bit of an issue for him for sure. But anyway, 30-15 here, the drop shot that Bublik doesn't get to before the second bounce. Ooh, but a backhand into the net here, and we are at 30-all again, which, well, it definitely signifies that the last 5-10 minutes, Bublik is actually getting some chances. After hitting all of these unconventional shots, breakpoint down, he's putting more returns in play as well, but that's a nice hooked forehand from Shelton. I think it's one of the best things about this shot actually from him, that he can cheat a little bit, you know. He doesn't need to play it like full power, he doesn't need to go for the full swing, but he also has this ability to just wrap it up a little bit earlier, whip it a little bit, and just find that precise placement when he needs it, with a ton of topspin as well. That's what he does here, and finds the big serve as well for 4 games all. So after 32 minutes in the second set, we still haven't learned all that much, but certainly since the breakpoint saves, Bublik is on a bit of an upswing. Shelton has made sure, though, with quick points and good serving, that these mini chances that Bublik had didn't actually turn into anything. And now we're back to Bublik trying to stay composed, trying to hit another great game. And he starts pretty nicely. The backhand cross-court, he follows it up to the net. Has that wrong foot volley on Shelton. Ben still gets to it, but it's very hard to produce any angle from that point. Bublik, of course, lots of reach on the net as well. That's definitely quite random from Bublik, though, that 15-all point. And he was just literally standing there. He completely decided not to use his legs for the shot, and he swoops the forehand out of the court. Going unconventional is his business. Going unconventional is his thing, and here he definitely went a bit overboard with it, I think. But as long as he wins this next rally, probably not a big deal, and that's precisely what he's going to do. He's laughing about this smash because apparently once again the sun was in his eyes, but what is important, that he ended up making it. And I think this backhand drop shot will also be 2 bounces before Shelton gets there. So yeah, I mean, Bublik is in really nice rhythm right now compared to the first set and compared to the beginning of the second. So he's not going to be an easy guy to stop here. And if we get to a tiebreak, that's obviously a lottery with 2 players who serve like this. And sort of on cue, Bublik hits an ace out wide too. So I didn't want to rhyme, by the way. It just came out like this. And Ons Jabeur defeated Jelena Ostapenko, so she's the first player into the quarterfinals of the Madrid Open, Mutua Madrid Open. She's the first player who makes the quarters of the event. She is going to play against Coco Gauff or Madison Keys in the quarterfinals. Ons, of course, the champion from 2022. where she defeated Jessica Pegula, and that whole run, that whole event was part of the Breakpoint Season 1 series on Netflix. So it was kind of immortalized, although actually it wasn't immortalized because it's Breakpoint. But also worth mentioning that Ons hasn't lost a completed match in Madrid ever yet. And in fact, she also didn't play in 2023, of course, after injuring her ankle in the Stuttgart semi-final against Iga Świątek. So she's actually still on a winning streak in Madrid. You know, she won 6 matches here in 2022, and now she's already won 3 in 2024. This is her first straight set win of the tournament, as she beats Schmidlova in 3, Fernandez in 3, and now Ostapenko in 2. So Ons is on a 9-match winning streak in Madrid. She only lost once at this venue in 2021 to Belinda Bencic in the third round. But of course, the third round back then, before the format changes, that was actually the round of 16. So technically the same round as the one that she played today. And Haddad Maya Sakari early in the second set, so not much to talk about there. Let's come back to Ben Shelton, who is now serving to stay in the set. Definitely not a position he was in the opener at any point, and also not a position he ever probably expected himself to be in, given how the first few games of this set were working out. Oh my god! That was insane. He he's just sort of like swats this +1 volley at Bublik, and I was really not sure what the Kazakh was going to do with it. Shelton barely gets to it on the stretch with the backhand volley, and then it like just dies after the net, you know. Well, he almost put himself in a bit of trouble there, but is able to get himself out of this. Once again, serve and volleying, gets the point. It's definitely not the kind of tennis that I think we saw from Ben in some other clay events last year, but it's also a faster court. I mean, not the court itself, but like the ball travels through the air so quick. I think here he's able to play a lot of his hard court tennis, really, and not care about constructing the points that much. Yeah, just follow up the serve to the net, follow up the first forehand to the net, find that +1 dropper. It's definitely allowing him to play like a very natural style for him. I wonder how it's going to hold up against like a better baseliner than Bublik, because obviously Bublik is not exactly the player you want to go for in like longer extended rallies. He's not going to be dragged into them. But what if someone does? Like, what if Medvedev, for example, forces more of that sort of play from Shelton? Like, that's what I would be interested to see. But for now, I mean, Shelton is like kind of straight up serve and volleying the entire game here. And he gets to 5-all without any issues. So let's see. Alexander Bublik serving at 5 games all. Good recovery from Shelton here. But what will he do of the next shot? Not much. He kind of like runs straight into this ball, you know? He just didn't read it too well. That short pickup from from Bublik, and he didn't get into position, which definitely ended up messing him up here. As the next volley was just so tough. I like the recovery when he was pushed wide to the forehand, though. Like, that's something he can do on the forehand side that on the backhand doesn't exist for him clearly in this match. Neutralizing the point with more spin rather than just smashing at it when you're in a tough position. 15-all now, as Bublik misses a backhand down the line. And a double fault again to go 15-30. So a couple of easier holds from Bublik the last 2 times we've seen him come up to the service line. But now we might be watching one of the more important moments of this match. Pretty close on this serve. But he does make it, which is the most important thing. 30-all. As I said, like if we get to a tiebreak, Shelton, despite probably feeling like he's been the better player this match, he won't be feeling comfortable. It's a lottery against a player who's serving like Bublik, and if you're a player who's serving like you as well, like Ben Shelton. Second serve from Bublik at 30-all, so there's always that chance he double faults or something crazy happens. But let's see. Maybe he'll just roll it in this time. Well, he goes for it. He goes for it. He manages to take the point. So tough to play against him. You just never know what's coming at you, including the underarm serve from time to time. But that's not the spot for it, says Alexander Bublik. And will he just claim the game? Yes, indeed. Couple of big forehands. 6-5 Bublik. Shelton has to serve to stay in the set again before we even get a chance to see a tiebreak between these two. Haddad Maya up a set and a break on Sakari. I don't know how much breaks actually mean in that matchup. Of course, in the first set, she was double break up, then she lost one of them. But I think still they mean quite a lot. So maybe that's an advantage that she can convert in the end. 6-2 Shelton third set, says Corey, still believing in his bet potentially, if that indeed would work out. If Bublik wins this one in a tiebreak and then Ben wins 6-2 in the third. I'm not a bettor, so can't really recommend anything. I also wouldn't wanna, because like it's a lot of pressure to tell people to put their money on something. I don't know how people do it actually. Like when I see some accounts on Twitter that just continuously put their picks on, right? Like that's a lot of pressure actually. I would be watching these matches and I would be like not scared that I lose money, but that people are gonna go at me when they lose. But well, apparently they have an easier time handling it. So let's see how Shelton returns after the break. The changeover is done. Renault Liechtenstein says time. And he has one more game to win here if he wants to get this to a tiebreaker. And of course he does. Needless to say, that's precisely what he does. Again, serve and volleying. I mean, this is like the 10th point in a row that Sheldon serve and volleys at. Which really is a thing that, well, on this clay court, is very doable for him. I wonder how he's gonna look in like Rome or Roland Garros, right? He should probably play Geneva too, I think. Geneva would be a nice one for him. I think he maybe did last year, or at least was supposed to play Geneva, maybe. I actually need to check that, but I think he probably played Geneva last year. Anyway, 15-all. But he will clean up the next point, gets Bublik on the move. The Kazakh gets a little stuck there, a little off balance in the backhand corner. And then he just needs to put the ball in. Yeah, he did play Geneva last year, but lost to Cecchinato in the first round, going 4-8 on clay in 2023. Of course, this year, 5-0, 6-0 maybe soon. That's much better. And we've got one more forehand winner like this, kind of precisely the same shot inside out, and 40-15. So Ben Shelton very close to securing that tiebreak, which you never really know who's going to take it when we have players like this, Bublik and Shelton, but it can, of course, be a way for him to close out this match. Shelton serving here. Once again, trying to serve and volley, this time on the second serve, but Bublik punishes it very swiftly. So just one more opportunity for now for Shelton to get that tiebreaker. Yeah, there's just no way to do anything after a return like this. But I guess, you know, he had to know that's the risk, running straight towards the net after his second serve, especially this centric, if you may. Ooh, and he tries to go for a forehand drop shot, but it's even before the net, like it lands even before the net. So 2 points from the set suddenly, Alexander Bublik. As Shelton just makes a couple of pretty weird decisions, I guess. I mean, he has been winning points with these +1 drop shots, but did he really need that at this stage? Probably not, but well, he goes to the old and trusted serve and volley on the deuce point. And as it's after the first serve, Bublik can't produce the return. And it's another one. I mean, he's straight up serve and volleying on like half the points here, but in these conditions, he's able to afford it. I do really want to see him play against someone who's like a better returner, though, and see how he adjusts or if he even needs to adjust. But anyway, we have the tiebreak now. Let's see. Alexander Bublik is still not out of this match. He saved a few very key break points at the beginning of the second set. I think since the opening game of the match, he didn't have one himself, so it was crucial. And now he gets a tiebreak, which is, you know, a really good outcome, I think, for him here, and a big chance to keep going. Just a few points here, and he might still be, you know, a part of this match in the third set. And here we can see the sort of dilemma that you have when Bublik is going for that +1 shot, because on the one hand, Shelton is expecting a big forehand, but of course, Bublik can also throw in this drop shot. And because Shelton moved back, because he was like ready to parry a massive shot from Bublik, a massive, deep, powerful forehand, he actually gets burned by that forehand drop shot because he was so far back already. And there's no good middle ground here, right? If you go for the middle ground, you're probably going to lose both ways. And now he like snaps his forehand motion here, Shelton. That's some cracks in the last 2-3 minutes that we're seeing from him, definitely, in terms of like the composure going away for a moment. And this is also not good enough. I mean, he goes to the net, but the volley he tries to pick up overhead, it just ends up giving Bublik an easy pass. So it's 2 mini breaks for the Kazakh now, who has a perfect shot at securing this third set here. If he blows it from 2 mini breaks up, that's likely gonna be on him, right? Oh, Shelton finding the line there, cross-court forehand, that could be crucial. But he doesn't fend off one. I mean, he doesn't find one of these mini breaks back. He eventually misses the forehand. This has been a very weak tiebreak from Ben Shelton so far. 2 forehand unforced errors, that forehand overhead volley that he was unable to like put in the court. Well, he was unable to really like do much with, despite being in such a good position after the serve. What was the first point? I don't even remember now. Oh, it was the forehand drop shot from Bublik, yeah. And it's 5 points to love for Alexander Bublik, the clay goat. Well, 3 points, 3-0, with 2 mini breaks. Like, that was still probably gettable. I mean, Bublik can just hit a double fault, right? Like, it's not out of the ordinary if he does. But this is tough. This is probably not possible. Invitation to the net from Bublik. And that invitation is this time taken and accepted by Shelton. 5 points to 1, but he's still in massive trouble in the tiebreak. He's still very much out of it unless he can find something magical and probably rely on a few Bublik errors too. At this stage, I don't think he can really win it fully by himself, right? Like, his best shot at this stage is just probably getting some help from Bublik as well. Kind of can't win otherwise. Well, for now, he's won the 2 points on his delivery. Now it's up to Bublik to take at least one from 5 to up and get these 3 set points, or maybe even 4 set points. Five to Bublik, preparing to serve. Still under an hour and a half in this match. Of course, this has been very fast-paced given the sort of rallies we're experiencing and the server volleying from Shelton, which is pretty constant. But, well, Ben gets his shot in the point, and he will approach the net here. But I think Bublik finds the backhand pass again. Yeah, it's on the line. He's already hit a couple of stunners like this, and he manages to do it again. Like, maybe a little bit predictable from Shelton that he was going to go to that corner from this middle ball. I mean, that's pretty much what he does every single time. We see a challenge as well on the screen, but that was like, not even, didn't even touch the doubles alley. It was more in the court than on the line even. So 6 to Bublik, 4 set points, and he finds an ace to get us to a third set. Alexander Bublik. Let's remember that at 2 games all, this one he saved 4 breakpoints, including love 40, including 3 consecutive. He was hitting a lot of unconventional shots on them, and he managed to mess up Shelton a little bit, as Ben definitely fell apart a bit from. Well, even in the 5-6 game, he had a short moment where like he was all over the place, but then especially the first few points of the tiebreak. Not, I don't know if we can get much from the stats really here. Not that many unreturned serves actually from both guys at this stage, but still they're winning a lot on their serves, of course. Shelton not winning many baseline rallies, but then again, of course, he is going to the net a ton to 21 approaches in this set. Both dominant on serve, obviously. And, well, in the end, we have a very interesting one here. Average speeds on the forehand and backhand very low for both players. Is it because of all their drop shots? Do they get counted here? I don't know. But anyway, we are going to a decider indeed. All right, and when it comes to the other courts, we also have Iga Świątek starting up against Sara Sorribes-Tormo. This is their 4th match already within the last 12 months, even less, even like 10 months. Pretty crazy, but of course, so far, Sorribes-Tormo hasn't been able to threaten her. And Beatriz Haddad-Maia 6-4-4 to up on Sakari now. I will grab myself a glass of water maybe, but I see we're already going to be starting, so I will be back in 15 seconds. You probably will see me in the background. So after just 1 hour and 25 minutes or something like that, we are entering the third set. As we can see, the pace of play has been rapid. Ben Shelton will regret not closing this out in 2, but whether he regrets it a lot or not, of course, that will be decided by how the third set goes. I can't really say that Bublik has found something or anything. I mean, he's definitely, avoided any lapses of concentration and started winning his games more easily. But it also seems that, he just managed to get Ben quite nervous the last few games, and that definitely worked out for him. And right now he has that confidence, he has that momentum that he'll be playing with. He's definitely handling himself much better in all these cat and mouse rallies too. When he invites Shelton to the net with a drop shot, it usually doesn't even need to be that amazing. It certainly wasn't in this case, but Ben again serve and volleying. I mean, he's really a serve and volley machine here. I don't know how much belief he has in his baseline game, but he definitely doesn't seem like he trusts it that much against Bublik here. And well, maybe he doesn't have a reason to, as again, it's that pace at the backhand side that is really bothering him. He tries to go for a very low margin response again. A lady in the crowd catches a ball that was smashed by Shelton in her direction, but of course, that was not intentional. He was just trying to put away a shot and was successful and finds this ace out wide on the line here. So 40-30, but yeah, the last 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, the trends are, against Ben Shelton. So let's see if he can just say no to this and basically break that pattern we've been experiencing. What would help is taking this game, but wow, I mean, he really doesn't know what to do here with the Bublik forehand squash shot pass. I mean, I get it. It was definitely quite uncomfortable. So close to the net, so low after the net. He tries to wrap sort of like whip the forehand maybe in, but all in all, it's really not a good attempt. Bublik taking care of his shoelaces, and it's another ace out wide, I think. Yeah, that serve on the deuce side today has definitely brought Shelton the most aces, and 2 consecutive as well here. So let's see if he can close out the game on this attempt. Tries to serve and volley, but the serve is into the net. Ooh. And the net court from Bublik will massively help him here. It's kind of like the one for, what was it? Zverev and Shapo yesterday, right? When Zverev hit that net court and Shapo barely gets to it and finds this actually pretty sensational redrop. This time now, it's just Shelton got to it, but the response was like way too high. Obviously, he isn't really to blame here because it was extremely tough to do anything from that position. It was the net court basically won the point for Bublik, but just tough not to think about that Zverev Shapo point from yesterday, which actually could have been very crucial had Shapovalov won the match, or at least got us to a third set. But obviously he had that 5-all game where he was done in literally just 60-90 seconds. He just donated everything that he had earned for himself in the previous few games. So, well, in the previous game, technically. So yeah, can Shelton finally close out the opening game of the third set, which is actually, looking more and more important as we keep going. Indeed, again, it's that lack of rally tolerance at the backhand that is killing him here. Brian Shelton not too pleased with his son's performance anymore. Obviously, he was probably also thinking, well, Ben should close this out in 2, and now that it didn't materialize, this game is looking very, very shaky from Shelton again. And if he loses it, things will be really against him right now. Serve and volleying on the second serve. And yeah, Bublik will just pass him. He has to do it with 2 shots, return and the next one, but it's no problem for him. So it's a breakpoint for Bublik right away. That's the situation that we had in the first game of the opening set as well, but I mean, this time it feels more crucial because the last 20-30 minutes Bublik has been kind of flying. Oh my god, and Shelton serve and volleying again to the Bublik forehand, but Bublik this time puts it into the net. This was close though, like this is really, really not a great game from Shelton overall. He might still battle through though, and he's literally serve and volleying on every point here. What will happen if someone forces him to play more baseline tennis is again like what I'm thinking about here. But well, Bublik for now is still down that, I mean, he still claims the game, so I guess in the end it worked out for him. Another couple of serve and volley approaches. Bublik rally hit points. We get some stats on the screen. In the first set, he was 40% like long behind the baseline, way behind the baseline, 32 in the court. I suppose they're going to try to tell us that in the second set, that balance did change sort of in favor of him being in the court a lot. Yeah, 54%. Being a lot more on the attack. But then again, like a lot of the rallies on Shelton serve in the second set, it's just like him serve and volleying, right? Not much really happening there. So I think that the stats can also be skewed a little bit because most of the longer rallies you're going to get on the Bublik serve. And that's why you're going to get more rally hit points as well. But I don't know. Let's see. This still feels very even. This still feels very much like a clash that can be decided by just a couple of points here and there. Maybe you already saw a point that is going to be one of the instrumental things with Shelton saving that breakpoint in the opening game of the third set. But yeah, Bublik, will he maintain that momentum that he's built up for himself the last 20 minutes? That's the burning question at the moment. Sometimes these like very serve-based matches, they tend to get a bit more messy, a bit more gritty by the time we reach third sets because, well, the players start actually reading their serves better. There's more rallying, there's more chaos. Perhaps that's what we're going to see here too. I mean, even in the second set, right, we saw that the amount of unreturned serve, the number, I guess, or of unreturned serves actually wasn't that high anymore from either player. Although now it doesn't feel like it, as 3 consecutive serves in a row. Bublik forces Shelton to, like, miss his return. And last game as well, Shelton was getting a lot of points for free. So maybe it actually doesn't feel like that. And Bublik with a cross-court backhand winner. So for now, 1 game all. Still, for a while now, Bublik has not struggled on his serve. Bublik has not really had issues with anything the last 25 minutes or so. And Haddad Maia now just 1 game away from beating Maria Sakkari, which would be a pretty big result for her, getting to that quarterfinal in Madrid. Iga Świątek as well started against Sara Sorribes Tormo already, 2-1 up for the world number 1. Shelton moving into the net again, and it's actually going to be this fun point with Bublik eventually trying to go for a forehand drop shot, but it was hard to come up with this on a ball that had so much pace on it. Now it's Shelton kind of looking at the sun and saying it's not easy to serve. By this point, we've got the sun covering half the court, literally, and the other is still in the shadows. Even more than half the court, which just makes the ball all the more tricky to see, I suppose. And it still feels like Bublik has all that momentum, all that confidence that he's built up for himself, the way he's catching this drop shot from Shelton here, just moving very well at the moment. Yes, Keen, there have been underarm serves. There was 1 underarm serve, I think only from Bublik. And that one was pretty hilarious because he missed the first underarm serve into the net. On the second serve, he tries to go for a regular one, but it's a let. And then he switches for the repeated second serve. He switches to another underarm. So Shelton got to it and then smashed the ball away. So he lost the point after that underarm serve. But yeah, there actually was an underarm serve from Bublik. We had one, but it did not result in him winning the point. 15:30 now, as again, like, Bublik has really started being dominant here the last 20 minutes or so. Shelton just serving volleying and not winning anything more, really. I'm really not sure what to think about this performance from Shelton now, because at first it just seemed like, for a set and a half, it just seemed like his hyper-aggressive tennis is going to bring him the win. But now that it's kind of not doing it, he's left with a bit less, like he's kind of left without ideas, it seems. And yeah, I mean, Bublik is just such a mastermind here. He actually decides to switch up his return position for this serve right at the very end. He decides to go very close to the baseline and he plays this drop shot return. We can see here how he was actually walking towards that. I don't know how much of that Shelton saw, but then he comes up with this drop shot return of the forehand, and Shelton will get the ball, will like put the ball away, out of the court. We've seen this on a lot of balls like this from Ben, actually. When it was dropping really short, he's like kind of in 2 minds in terms of what he should be doing with this. And it's 2 breakpoints, as Bublik is again sort of just trying to mess with Shelton. He's like walking up and down the court when trying to return. And this time he actually loses himself in this. Like, he's trying to go for another one of these softer forehand returns, but he's not even close to making it. And it's a breakpoint for Bublik again, but like, yeah, I mean, he's just went full unconventional on Shelton in this game. Whew, and Ben puts away the shot. So it's 2 breakpoints saved. This time the return was pretty short and easy, but recently not much has been comfortable for Shelton. So I really wasn't sure if he was gonna find that forehand winner, but he does. But yeah, this is now pretty wild. I wonder what Bublik's approach on the next point is going to be. He gets hit with the forehand drop shot from Shelton, and he will get another break point as he tracks it down, puts it pretty deep into the Shelton backhand corner, and Ben is not going to be able to produce the pass. So one more break point for Bublik. Bublik, by the way, is both of these players are in the top 20, right? So Shelton, I think, is looking for his first top 20 win on clay, even with Bublik, of course, not being maybe that much of a pickup on clay. And Bublik hasn't won against a top 20 player on clay in 3 years, since actually his run in Madrid here. But he might just do it. I mean, he breaks Shelton here. And it's another one of these points where Ben goes to the net, but then there's a bit of hesitation maybe. The Bublik lob of the backhand is pretty tough because Ben has to play this high overhead volley, and Bublik ends up passing him. So it really feels like Bublik is winning this match by going full unconventional. The breakpoints that he saved at 2 games, all the tricks that he did here with the return position. He's really messed Shelton up. And maybe partially it's because, Ben has been executing such a simplistic approach to this match, serve and volleying at every point, literally. Some of that is probably why this the trickery from Bublik is bothering him so much. I must have said something hilarious with John saying ha 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 earlier. Would I be more shocked if Nadal or Ruud lost today? Nadal. No, sorry, Ruud. That's what I was trying to say. Definitely Ruud. Yeah. I think Kasper is a bigger favorite than Rafa. Yeah. I'm just not ready, to say that Rafa is going to win the title now or something like that, because I feel like it can all come crashing down. I do think that Pedro Cachin will probably just fall apart a little bit mentally because he's never been in a match like this. But ideally, if Cachin has no pressure on himself, I think it's a winnable match for him at altitude. Only at altitude. And only at this stage of Rafa's career, obviously, not really 2 years ago or anything, right? And Beatriz Haddad-Maia has a match point on Maria Sakkari. How do you feel about that, Mr. Silk? Mr. Sakkari is playing the best tennis of her career. But no, I'm not laughing at you with that, by the way. I'm only gonna laugh at you if Daniel Collins wins the title. But with that, obviously Haddad-Maia can beat Sakkari. It's not anything exceptional. Cachin has been so bad up until that last match. Yeah, he has, but he loves it. Last year he was 0-6 to start the year. By the time he enters the playing some altitude events, he's also in big trouble. And then what? He wins Gstaad. He makes the 4th round in Madrid. He beats Tiafoe. I think it's possible. I think that Pedro Cachin wakes up whenever he is playing in conditions like this, and just wouldn't surprise me if he did that again. Really wouldn't. But Cam, I would be pretty surprised by. I know he beat him at the Australian Open, but it just feels like the conditions are still, even though it's faster here, much better for Casper than they were in Melbourne, obviously. And also, Casper is just so good at the moment. I don't feel like that's going to happen, really. But yeah, Cam played one of the best matches of his career in my mind in Australia to beat Ruud. Who's playing very well at the moment? Alexander Bublik. Really, the last 30 minutes, laser focused. When he's playing, when he's throwing weird stuff, it all makes sense too. The last game, right? When he was trying to mess Shelton up, it was all for good cause as well. Yeah, and Shelton is really lost mentally at the moment. You can see it in the shots he's playing here, which, again, I mean, he probably feels that he should have been done with this match a long while ago, given all the breakpoints at the beginning of the second set. But at this stage, I mean, he needs to pull off a ridiculous comeback to win. And he also has not looked like a guy who has it in him, being in that pure serve and volley mode. And he serve and volleys after the second serve here. This time, though, it works out for him. Really nice touch with that side spin backhand volley. But, he's still down a break. Looks like Shelton will pick up this game, though. 3-2, back on the board after the previous two. And let's see. Alexander Bublik only needs to hold serve 3 more times to win this match. If Moro Kanyas gets top 100 this year, you have to give me some credit. Yes, but he won't. So, I mean, I like him, I really do, but I just don't know where you see that top 100 quality game there. I really don't. And so like, yeah, if he does, I am gonna give you credit, but I just don't think it's really possible at this stage. Maybe like 1 year, he's a very nice grinder, but it's a game that has its limits to me. 127th in the race right now. I guess, if he keeps piling up very strong results, it's not impossible, I suppose, but it's also not going to be easy. Haddad Maya beats Sakari, says Gene. That's a bit of a surprise. Yeah, again, I mean, I wish I saw Sakari against Stevens, because that match could have given me a lot more clarity in terms of how well Maria was actually playing. Personally, I didn't think much of her in terms of this event. Like, I still didn't think that she was going to beat Rybakina or Świątek, for example, right? And that's kind of what I was looking at. Did I think she might make the quarters? Yes, of course. But yeah, all in all, I mean, I guess I just wasn't expecting that much from her. That's kind of what I'm saying. But yeah, I wish I saw that match against Stevens, because that seemed to bring her a lot of hype, and I wish I saw sort of where it was coming from. And yeah, Bublik so far still holding on without any major issues. As I said, I mean, Madrid, he's already had one big run at before. That's also where he last beat a top 20 player on clay. Now, whether Shelton is worthy of being a top 20 player on clay, that's a different discussion. But in 2021, Bublik defeated Fucsovics, Shapovalov, Karatsev, and then lost to Bublik in Madrid. In 2022, he lost in the opening round to Kecmanovic, and then in 2023, he beat Galan but lost to Rune. That was a very tight match, though. He had match points there. So and that's gonna be 4-2 for Bublik, as he's just flying, the last 40 minutes. So yeah, just 2 holes away, Alexander Bublik now, but of course it's Ben Shelton now to serve. He is in real trouble. He hasn't really shown us that he has the ability to respond now that Bublik is playing so well. I mean, Shelton still 7 volleying on 90% of the shots, not really 90% of the rallies, really not really trusting his baseline game today, especially of the backhand. Like, he doesn't have any reason to trust it either so far. As any pace to that wing, he's just trying to go full power against it and missing all of that. Oh, that's a good question, Keen. But actually, yes, altitude has the same impact if played under a closed roof. I was wondering about this a couple of years ago, actually. But what is actually the explanation for this is that, well, technically, if you had a venue which has like its own supply of air, then it wouldn't. But even if you close the doors, it's still the same air that is outside. So altitude does not change indoors or outdoors. Technically, it could if you had a venue with your own supply of air, but that's not really happening ever, really. So yeah, altitude, if you're, for example, if you went to Bogota and you were sitting at home there inside your apartment, for example, it would be the same. Yes. But yeah, I totally get the question, as I was wondering about that a couple of years ago as well and had to basically Google it or something like that. And yes, Jake, when it comes to how the match has been, Ben had 5 breakpoints at the beginning of the second set, and at 2 games all in the second set, he had a low 40 on the Bublik serve. And Bublik kind of saved it by like going full unconventional mode. Bublik just started playing like these +1 forehand drop shots, luring Ben into the cat and mouse rallies at the net that he hasn't felt comfortable in. He also played this forehand slice instead of a +1 forehand on the 4th breakpoint, I think. He survived and then suddenly sort of just started building up momentum. Ben played a horrible tiebreak from going down low 5 in it. And like the first 4 points were just awful. And definitely let the nerves get to him. And now Bublik is like kind of flying, Bublik is laser focused. Again, he goes full unconventional on the game where he finally breaks in the 3rd set. There's a lot of like return position trickery, as in, Shelton is setting up for a serve. Then Bublik, walks in quickly to return. And for example, that's how he set up 2 breakpoints, that he was far back. Then Shelton starts prepping for his service motion. Bublik walks in. He plays this soft forehand drop shot return. And again, Shelton doesn't get any control on it while running to it. And he's kind of been smart about this, He's gone full trickery mode while being smart about it. And Shelton has been like just serve and volleying 90% of the points today. Clearly doesn't trust his baseline game whatsoever. And when there's any pace at the Shelton backhand, he's just slamming it. There's no recovery ability. There's nothing. He's just slamming it and missing it 90% of the time. So now it's just all about whether Bublik can keep that composure, and he's just 2 holds away. But again, expect the unexpected, and maybe this is not over yet for him. Iga Świątek serving for the set, as we can see on the screen, 5-1. She lost the first game, actually. She was broken in the first game. But of course, the Sorribes-Tormo matchup, we've seen before that the serving doesn't really influence who wins the games when Świątek and Sorribes-Tormo are playing. So, and wow, I mean, speaking of expect the unexpected, it's 2 double faults from Bublik to start the 8th game of this third set. So maybe it's not over yet. Can we put on the Bublik score again? Because, oh yeah, thank you. Because we might actually run into a very important game here, given that Bublik just started with 2 double faults and he's just 2 holds away. But he gets the point done. Next one, serve down the tee. Shelton, of course, his returning has also been pretty poor. Although I would say in the second set, both players were putting in a lot of returns. It's the third where it kind of changed again. And we have a bit more of a serve body match again, which is not good for Ben, of course, right now, because he's down a break. Also, Bublik has been winning a lot of baseline rallies, but not this one, as he just tries to go for that backhand line. That's such a low margin shot at this point in time. And he's 15-40. So 2 breakpoints right now that Bublik has to save. And maybe this match is not over yet. I mean, this is definitely expect the unexpected, as Jake said. And maybe Bublik is just going to go full trickery mode again. I don't know. Maybe he's just going to throw in some random junk once again. Who knows? Or maybe he's just going to save it with big serves. That's also possible. Well, he's going to have to smash for it, but he manages to land it. That actually wasn't that easy. Like I was a little worried for Bublik there. Not going to lie. But of course, that was mostly a point that the serve won for him, even if the smash in the end really not that easy. And I think Bublik is also again saying, because he is on the side with Sun on, and I think he's also like pointing that, well, that actually wasn't that easy. That actually wasn't that comfortable given the Sun. But yeah, one more breakpoint for Bublik. Can he find the first serve? I think he does, and goes for the backhand drop shot again. And again, it works like a charm. I mean, Ben is just unable to control his shots when he's playing like from so far, so close to the net. And this has been going on the entire match, really. On the key points, that's what Bublik is relying on, and it's just feeding him points, This was a drop shot that Shelton was in time for. Like, he could have done more with this. It wasn't a clear, obvious chance. It wasn't that high, but still, like, he could have been in the point at the very least. And once again, he's not. And this is what was happening in the second set as well on the breakpoints. Bublik kind of relying on this anytime we have a key point, it seems. And he goes for this cannon second serve here. I want to see the speed on this. Can you guys show me the speed gun? I guess they won't, but yeah, that must have been ridiculous. That must have been 212 on the first serve. Sorry, Jean, but it's not looking too likely at the moment, as Bublik has a game point after finding that ridiculous second serve. And it's 5-3 Alexander Bublik. So potentially just one more chance for Ben Shelton to break back. But first he needs to hold as well. I am honestly kind of impressed with Bublik today. Like, it feels like a lot of the trickery and the junk that he's coming up with, it feels like he's really being composed with this and like kind of knows what he's doing. And Alexander Bublik a lot of the time can feel like he doesn't know what he's doing. Today it's more Shelton who just looks like he's completely lost and he doesn't have any plan for this other than server volleying on every point. And that's kind of been the story of this match, I think, to me. Let's see. 5-3 Bublik. In the meantime, Haddad Maya cleans Sakai. Oh, no, that was actually already a few minutes ago, right? Yeah, of course. Lehečka Monteiro will start soon on that court. And Świątek has a set point on Sorribes Tormo, which I think has just been saved by the Spaniard. Anyway, let's see if Shelton holds at 3-5 down. So far only broken once in this match, but it looks like that one time might actually prove, enough. The forehand drop shot from Shelton here. He's probably going to win the point. Yes. Wasn't that easy. Like, Bublik forced him to play a pretty tough pickup, but Ben is able to come up with this. Bublik tries to hit this behind the back shot that kind of reminds me of what Pablo Cuevas, of course, famously did at this venue. And it's actually a good reference because Bublik, there was a video from one of the social media channels, I think either of the tournament or maybe the ATP this week, where Bublik was actually trying to reconstruct that shot. And he said that he did it better than Pablo. So it's actually kind of a fitting reference, if you may. Ooh. But yeah, it's 30-15 Shelton anyway. Looks like this huge missed return from Bublik will probably seal the deal on this game. And he will be forced to serve it out to potentially get into the Madrid fourth round. But can Shelton, yes, ice down the tee, 5-4. And after the changeover, Alexander Bublik will serve for the match. Really not a bad effort from Bublik so far. Now the big question is whether he's going to blow it or not. Who would you say has the best and worst second serves in men's tennis in comparison to their first? But to be Zverev surely up there anyway. I mean, Zverev, yeah, but like he's had ips with that, right? Like he's had issues with that. But is his second serve when he's like not feeling the pressure, is it actually bad? It's not horrible, I think. I'm thinking about this. I'm actually going to help myself out a little bit, and as I'm intrigued who sort of can have a big discrepancy between their first serve and second serve return points, although that might not actually be influenced in a lot of cases by their ability. Like most of the time, if you have a good first serve, you also have second serve that's decent, I think. I mean, Medvedev makes a lot of double faults compared to most players. So does Bublik, of course, but Bublik is literally like going full power with his second serves, right? But is there anyone really who has a horrible second serve and actually is a good first server? Because if you have some guys like Baez, for example, like, again, he makes so many first serves. His first serve is horrible. And then his second serve is actually pretty decent, right? Because, well, there's just not that much of a change compared to his first serve. But does that mean that he actually has a strong second serve? I don't think so. Ace down the tee from Bublik to go 15 love up. I don't know if you guys have any ideas, throw them in the chat, because I'm kind of blanking, to be honest. There definitely used to be a case with Rublev, but I don't think it's there anymore. I think whatever second serve weaknesses he used to have, they're more or less done by now. I mean, Shelton can still add a lot of variety and spins to it, so probably not the case either. Yeah, exactly, Jake. Like it's just a pressure thing, right? But yeah, all in all, in terms of like performance on second serve, he probably deserves a mention at least. Then again, with how well he's hitting his second serve, with how often he's hitting his first serve at the moment, he kind of just doesn't need his second serve. I mean, he is leading the tour, right, in first serve percentage and he's also got a massive first serve, so he's not hitting his second serve all that often. Anyway, Bublik with another couple of quick serves, 5-4, 40-15, 2 match points for the Kazakh to get to Madrid round 4 and score his first top 20 win on clay in 3 years. Since this very event when he beat Shapovalov on the way to the 2021 quarterfinals, and a dead net court return from Shelton saves 1 match point. Of course, this will be a bit legendary if he wins the match after that. But there's 1 more match point coming. Goes for a big serve out wide, and I guess we're going to be challenging this. This was very close. Personally, I'd lean in, and I think, yes, Shelton apparently doesn't even want to challenge. Shelton is also thinking that was an ace. So that's over. Alexander Bublik wins this match. And I certainly was not expecting that after the first set, as well, Shelton was first of all dominant on serve, but also it seemed like he has a lot more to do on return. That's kind of how the second serve was going to. But then Bublik smartly goes full unconventional mode, saving all these 4 breakpoints at 2 games all in the second set. He throws in these +1 drop shots, gets Shelton uncomfortable a lot there when like the ball is very close to the net and low. And that's what he kept going for as well in the third set when he was saving breakpoints. Ben having a horrible tiebreak really also pushed it sort of to Bublik. But after that, the Kazakh was like laser focused compared to his usual performances. And I think also in the game where he finally broke, he was like very smartly throwing in some unconventional stuff at Shelton and seeing how Ben would react. In the end, he actually won 1 less point than Shelton. Shelton won 98, Bublik won 97. But obviously, that's not what matters in tennis. What matters in tennis is that Alexander Bublik is through. And despite 46 net approaches from Shelton, he won 27 of them, by the way. So really serve and volley mode today. But it's Alexander Bublik who played the better moments smarter, I guess. And he is able to make it through. And next up for him will be Medvedev or Korda. So while it's not unwinnable, I don't think he will be the favorite against Medvedev, even on clay, against Korda. I don't know, maybe like a 50-50-ish, but we'll see. He definitely played pretty smart today and deserves a lot of credit for that. Really, yeah, as Jake says, I mean, the Shelton's still a work in progress on clay then. But I think Bublik definitely showed that it's the randomness of the matchup against someone like Ben, who is such a work in progress, is so raw, can be a thing. Like just the way that he was able to lure him into uncomfortable spots on all these important points. That's kind of what won the match, I would say. And yeah, I mean, Jake, you're pretty safe with Rafa Kacin, right? I mean, it's literally not before 4 p.m. in Madrid. I mean, you're pretty safe. You pretty much know when it will start. I mean, because it will start, well, Iga is right now playing, and then Nadal Kacin is not before 4 p.m. local time. So, yeah, I mean, pretty much it's obvious when it's going to start by now. So you know the time. I don't know if it will be a conventional, a convenient time for you or not. Bolt Marchenko was an excellent watch this morning. I missed that one. I might get to see some Aix-en-Provence Cagliari qualies in a second, and I'm definitely very excited about Porto Alegre later today, where Miguel will be making his challenger debut and at 15, 2009 born, and also the Klesar, the last match of Klesar's career, as he says goodbye at home. But that's, of course, much later in the day. For now, I will probably focus on Aix and Cagliari qualies, and of course, Madrid. Anyway, you guys, there will be more content on the channel. Definitely Nadal Kacin with whoever. And keep tuning into that. Thank you for the 8K subscribers. Thank you for this stream. And I'll see you guys later. Probably not, Jake. No, I don't think so. But well, for now, Bublik Shelton was the match I chose today, and well, it did deliver. So I'm glad to have watched that with you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.